What is up? Welcome in, Hoge Jahns, back with you after observing some padded practices this week and some football and lots of injuries too.
Yes. But we saw real tackling today. Guys actually getting wrapped up, guys being sent to the ground with some hits. There was live, real football being played at Hallis Hall today.
Yeah, there was. Thanks for being patient this week. Part of the reason, first of all, there was some life stuff going on this week. But we wanted to see some tackling today, honestly, before we gave you the podcast. So sometimes in training camp, we move things around to make sure we have good stuff to talk to you about, and that is the case this week. Hope you enjoyed the Ryan Pace interview. I know we had a lot of fun doing it. Enjoyed the setting out there on the practice field. I feel like, Johns, it was the loosest he's been with us. I mean, I always feel like the interview's good, but I don't know, something this year, maybe it's just having Justin Fields on the roster that might help too. But I enjoyed it, and we got a lot of positive feedback, so thank you to everybody who chimed in.
Yeah, thank you for listening, even for commenting on YouTube. A lot of YouTube love this time. Yeah, he was more relaxed. What's this, the fourth or fifth year in a row?
I think it's 6.
6 years already?
Yeah.
First time we've done it with him outside at Hallis Hall. We've done it inside at Hallis Hall, but this is the first time outside at Hallis Hall after all the construction, remodeling, expansion, and whatnot. So, you know, he feels pretty good about what he's seeing in Justin Fields as well.
Yes, that is the case. And we are going to talk some Justin Fields here for you. Follow us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Jahns. Read us. Plenty of coverage up. Mine is up at NBCSportsChicago.com. Got practice observations from today. Got a story on Carlos Santos, our guy, Carlos Santos, I should say, right? I think that's his name.
And Carlos Santos.
And you guys have a ton over on The Athletic, theathletic.com. Practice observations every day. And the reason why I say you guys is because Kevin Fishbain is here. His triumphant return.
Hello, friends.
He's back.
Apparently, it's Jim Nantz.
Did you guys know I just did I like to do my fun facts here?
Yes, you do have fun facts.
I got some data for you. Since your Ryan Pace interview, 27 Bears offensive linemen have gotten hurt.
Sounds accurate.
So
27?
Give or take.
I think that qualifies as fun hyperbole, but we get the point.
Correlation does not equal causation, but I'm just saying. There's you guys do the interview, and then suddenly there's nobody left to play offensive line.
Yeah, but 3 of those guys were hurt before we even did that interview.
Listen, I just bring the numbers. I'm just a numbers guy. But it's good. It's good to be back and good to talk some football.
All right. Well, Kevin is back from his paternity leave. I am back from my paternity leave. Johns is back from having 3 kids, which he's had for a while.
Johns is still present, as I should say.
Yeah, still present from having 3 kids. Which is a day-to-day thing for you. So, sometimes hour to hour even. But we're all here. It's good to have 3 of us back because it's been a really, really long time. And real football to talk about. Actual tackling going on at practice. But let's start with the offensive line because that's what led my practice notes today. I'm sure you guys have stuff on it on The Athletic. But I think it's time for us to call this a problem. John Fox would say it's all a problem, but here in 2021, the offensive line is a problem. And in some ways, it's a predictable problem because when you move on from your 2 starting tackles, veteran tackles, who, yes, I think we said many times over the years, you can do better than Charles Leno and Bobby Massey. But the one thing you could say, especially when it came to Leno, is he was durable. 93 straight starts at left tackle. That is a remarkable achievement, regardless of how you feel about the guy as a player. You don't start 93 straight games at left tackle if you aren't a good football player. So the Bears made that gamble to move on. It made sense after drafting Teven Jenkins. They felt like they were upgrading at the position eventually, and for cap reasons, they kind of had to do it at that point. But it was still a gamble. And now here the Bears are. Their top 3 tackles are down. I think now we're including Lachavious Simmons as the 4th tackle. He goes down with a concussion today. It's a big problem.
Alex Bars can't play everywhere all at once, is what I'm learning. Like he can play everywhere on that offensive line, but he can only play one position at any given time. We saw him go from left tackle to right tackle after Simmons went down. So, yes, to quote John Fox, it's all a problem right now. You're down to backups of backups. It's not a good sign. And, yes, it's easy to point out the Leno move right now. There's always going to be a couple injuries, and I think at this point, like to me, it starts with like Teven Jenkins. Like, what the heck is going on? We've seen him out there. Adam, you and I saw him like doing some arduous things with his back, and then nothing. A couple days of nothing. Does a couple more things on the hill. Looks like things that would stress out a back, and then a couple days of nothing. So maybe they're testing him out, and there's some recovery process here. But his absence now is alarming to me. That may be a strong word, but the guy hasn't practiced since training camp has opened up, and we're into the second week.
We've had 8 practices now, right? So Teven Jenkins has now missed, I want to say 8 more training camp practices than Charles Leno missed in 7 years, or 6 years.
Yeah.
You know, like this past season when Charles Leno almost missed a game, it was like the first time he'd ever been hurt. And already Teven Jenkins is starting. I mean, but you're right. It's I think the problem, well, there's a lot of problems, as John Fox would say. It's all a problem. You guys both mentioned that. John Fox would say that, but I wanted to be the third.
Third time.
Yeah, third time's
Sexy.
charm. Oh, I've heard that before. The Matt Nagy started training camp with, "This is not concerning," when he talked about Teven Jenkins. So it was just something that popped up in OTAs. They just want to be careful with it. Jermaine Ifedi, hip injury and conditioning, not concerning, not overly concerning. Eddie Jackson, hamstring injury before he got to, not concerning. And I understand that I'm not trying to totally throw the head coach under the bus because he's not a doctor and this takes time, but you start to wonder how much of this is overly cautious versus this is actually a lot more serious than maybe he thought, maybe the training staff thought with some of these guys. But then you have Elijah Wilkinson go on the COVID-19 list. And that's somebody the Bears like legitimately liked him. Like I think there was maybe a slim chance, but I think there was a chance that he could have been your week 1 starter at left tackle, right? And then Larry Borum. They're so excited about Larry Borum, he gets a concussion his first day of practice at left tackle.
And they weren't even in pads. How does that happen?
Well, they're wearing helmets, so collisions can happen. But yes,
yeah,
not good.
That's where they're at, and it's and you have to wonder how long before they bring in somebody, and then it's like, well, it's August 6th. If there's an offensive tackle that's not on a roster right now, unless it's like Russell Okun who's going to cost you some money, there's a reason he's not on a roster.
Let me be more specific with this, and I think I'm just going to do it. Like, maybe this defends Matt Nagy and the way he's characterizing what's going on with Teven Jenkins a bit, but here we go. We saw Teven Jenkins pulling a golf cart with a rope, and there was like stuff on that golf cart. Like, it was a cart, and he was pulling it with a rope. You don't do that if your back's a problem. We saw Teven Jenkins a few days later pushing a sled up the Walter Payton Hill. You don't do that if your back is seriously injured. Then again, now it's been a few days of nothing. Like, he's doing things, I'm going to use the word again, that are arduous for his back, that would strain anybody's back. But then again, there's a bunch of days of nothing that have followed after that. And even if he's ready tomorrow, you can't just throw him in there during live contact drills. Next week, the Dolphins come. You can't just throw him in there against the Dolphins. Like, there's a slow plan now, I feel like, in place for his return to the field.
I think what happened is he suffered a setback.
Good point.
I mean, I think when you put together what you just said, Johns, what you observed, going from doing those things that were arduous, I don't think I've ever used that word.
It's a good word.
I'm gonna take that from you. And then you add into the fact that the way Nagy was talking last week, it was like they wanted to make sure he was okay for when pads started. Well, now the pads are starting. There's no sign of him getting out there. And to me, the biggest clue that there was some kind of setback is they didn't start him on the PUP list. If you knew he was going to miss 8 practices, the whole point of the PUP list is that you could put another body on the roster. And another issue they have right now is, and I guess it's an issue, but it's also a good thing. None of these injuries are season-ending or season-threatening even right now. Like, even in the case of Jermaine Ifedi, Matt Nagy said today didn't seem worried about him being ready by week 1. But that creates a problem because you can't shelf a player or even somebody, if it's like somebody you're going to cut, like you do the waive injured thing. Like they're getting to the point where they need to find some creative way to get more bodies just for practice. Because today there was 10 offensive linemen and then Simmons went down, so there was 9. Those are numbers you see in the regular season at practice when the roster is down to 53 plus the practice squad. So to run full training camp practices with 3 teams, to only have 9 offensive linemen, that's an issue that they're dealing with right now. But my point is the fact that they did not start Teven Jenkins on PUP, to me, was an indication that they expected him back relatively soon or practicing relatively soon. Daz Newsome started on PUP. He's already out there. He's off of PUP. And now he's just not practicing. And so I think that's reason for concern that there was a setback. So now the question is, how big was the setback? And we all lived the Kevin White thing. So I think that's part of why the 3 of us probably sitting here, you start to worry about it when they're just sort of being vague about the answers and you don't really know.
Yeah, I think I heard Tom Thayer talking about this too, and he knows a thing or two about offensive line. A back injury, that's a problem when you're talking offensive line. And I know certainly people are harkening back to Chris Williams and starting to get nervous. And Jalen Johnson last year, I was thinking about this. Remember, Jalen Johnson, we didn't see him at all during training camp doing anything. And then week 1, he's out there, right? But that is such a different position. Say, Jalen, go cover who's ever across from you. Like Teven Jenkins, instead of saying, hey, go play the side of the line that you didn't really play in college, one of the most important positions in football. Do it for us at a high level against a really good defense on primetime television. Know all of our calls, know everything that we need to do. You have to get all that done, and you have to be physically ready for what's coming for you. So, I mean, it's hard to imagine, unless Teven Jenkins comes back tomorrow and is in pads, in time for the joint practices, it's like how you start wondering, is this guy even going to be out there in week 1? I mean, think about this, guys. Think about everything that had to happen for us to see Arlington Hambright, Alex Bars, and Dieter Eilen on the first team offensive line. I mean, this is what happened in Tennessee last year. And we've now heard Matt Nagy and Bill Lazor multiple times this week when asked about that winning streak last year. What's the first thing they said? The offensive line came together. And the opposite's happening right now.
Can I say one thing? I thought the offensive line was actually okay today. Right?
Yeah, I thought they were.
Yeah. I heard Nagy scream out sack maybe once or twice, but maybe some of that was the play calling, getting those guys out of the pocket, getting the ball out quick and whatnot. But for the most part, that offensive line, that makeshift offensive line, held its own for a bit. Now, tomorrow could be another story. There'll be more bumps and bruises. You mentioned the 9 guys, Adam. They're going to go live again tomorrow. There's going to be fully live drills tomorrow and maybe some on Sunday. Matt Nagy's promised 3 days of pads. We've got 1 in the books. Potential for injuries.
Yeah, injuries, and I also don't want to minimize James Daniels. I mean, him having a quad. This is a guy coming off an injury and now dealing with another injury, and he's not out there. And he's playing a new position, moving over to right guard. So, and to me, the interior of the line right now, with the question marks on the outside that we knew were going to be there, the interior has to stay together. And not to just be completely negative. I mean, Sam Mustipher looks great to me.
Here's can I inject? If Alex Bars has to play right guard, I think the Bears will be fine. He's more than serviceable. I think he proved that with 6 starts last year at right guard. To me, it's the edges, man. If you need to use Alex Bars at left or right tackle, he may hold his own against some guys, but not all of them. That's a problem.
But so that begs the question, did the Bears do enough at the tackle position in the offseason? I mean, to me, they've always been rolling the dice. And you can say that even if you like Teven Jenkins, the draft pick. And I think getting him at 39 was a good spot to get him. But maybe this is why he was at 39 for all we know. And so if you knew that or if you didn't know that, either way, I mean, Elijah Wilkinson, decent depth, but it's not like I actually like them re-signing Jermaine Ifedi the way they did, but because he was pretty good at right tackle, other than that one sack he gave up against the Lions that cost him the game, he actually had not really allowed a pressure or a sack I think the last 6 or 7 games of the season or whatever, whenever he moved to right tackle. So I didn't mind that. But it's also not like he's a Pro Bowler at that spot. So I don't know. It just seems like they're playing with fire a little bit at tackle, and now we're seeing the results. And I guess, again, if there's any good news, it's that none of these, it's not like guys are tearing their ACLs out there and they're out for the year.
Yeah, Elijah Wilkinson's going to be expected back soon, activated off that COVID-19 list. But maybe it just feels this way. You know, like coaches operate in such a unique vacuum, like from day to day, right? Tomorrow, Wilkinson could be there. He could be activated off. You know, maybe in a week after the Dolphins come and go, maybe Ifedi's out there and the offensive line looks different. Maybe Jenkins is out there finally practicing. That's how day to day this could feel. But when you're down your top 4 tackles, throw Simmons in there, who the Bears seen, or at least Juan Castillo gave the impression of being very high on yesterday when we talked to him. And there's top 4 tackles being down. Of course, it's going to look pretty bad.
Phil Emery would have signed like 14 offensive tackles in the last 3 days. That guy loved transactions in training camp.
Oh, yeah.
It is different these days. It's harder to, you got certain COVID-19 protocols you still got to go through to bring somebody in. But again, like, who are you going to find to just hop in? And as Hoge, to your point, the idea that these aren't season ending, maybe that's another sense of confidence that they haven't brought, anybody in at all. I mean, I feel like at some point, so if you think about it, they have three offenses, right? First, second, third team, and 9 offensive linemen right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They should have 15, or maybe 14, and one guy does second and third team. So I think Arlington Hambright was playing, and Dieter Island were both playing with the first team and the second team, and then the whole second team was out again with the third team. I think those guys were replaced for the third team.
And Nagy's right. It's a good opportunity.
Great opportunity.
It is a good opportunity for these guys, especially putting the pads on, getting some live tackling. And to Johns' point, yes, we heard sack. We heard Nagy yelling out the word sack a lot less today than some of these past practices. Now, part of that's just because the pads are on, and that helps the offensive linemen. They're at a disadvantage before. But, there's a little bit of lack of urgency, and I think that if you want to read it that way, that could be a positive sign. But man, it's just like crazy as we're standing there watching practice today, like how far down the list you're going with some of these guys. So it's still early on in camp. Let's see what it looks like next week. Practicing against the Dolphins, they'll have a game to play, but at some point they're going to have to start adding more bodies or get some of these guys back.
We're all trying to eat better, but healthy breakfast doesn't have to be boring. That's why Magic Spoon, a great cereal, has amazing flavors you love, but without all the bad stuff. 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. Only 140 calories a serving. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and low-carb. You can build your own box or get a variety pack with available flavors: cocoa, fruity, frosted, peanut butter, blueberry, and cinnamon. Plus, Magic Spoon is bringing back 2 super popular flavors, cookies and cream and maple waffle, permanently. When these flavors were first introduced for a limited time, they sold out extremely quickly. They're delicious and extremely indulgent. My favorite happens to be cocoa. Fruity's pretty good too, and the frosted one is a popular one amongst my kids. So go to magicspoon.com/Adam to grab your delicious cereal and try it today. Be sure to use our promo code ADAM at checkout to save $5 off your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/Adam. Use the code ADAM to save $5 off. Thank you, Magic Spoon, for sponsoring this episode. CBD isn't about what you feel. It's about what you don't feel. Stress, anxiety, and pain. For me, it helps me sleep at night. That's why I want to tell you about Feels. Feels is a premium CD that will help keep your head clear and feel your best. It's hassle-free and delivered directly to your door. CBD naturally helps reduce stress, anxiety, pain, and sleeplessness. There's no hangover or addiction. Place a few drops of Feels under your tongue and feel the difference within minutes. The thing to remember about CBD is that finding your right dose is extremely important. fact, Fields offers a free CBD hotline to help guide your personal experience so that you can find your perfect dose. The Fields customer service team is dedicated to making sure you get the best use of your CBD. Joining the Fields monthly membership makes your self-care easy. You'll save money in every order, and you can pause or cancel at any time. So start feeling better with Fields. Become a member today by going to Fields.com/Adam, and you'll get 50% off your first order with free shipping. That's FEALS.com/Adam to become a member and get 50% automatically taken off your first order with free shipping. Fields.com/Adam.
All right, let's switch the topic to number one, Justin Fields. Now, Justin Fields is a hot topic, as everybody knows, and loves hearing about him on this podcast and reading about him. Everybody knows that. So I think nationally he is too. And nationally, I have felt like some tweets from practice, some videos here and there have gone viral that have created this narrative that Justin Fields is just lighting it up at Bears camp. My question to you guys is, do you think that that's accurate?
Like lighting up define lighting up.
Well, I think that, and tell me if I'm wrong, but this is some of the stuff I've seen talked about on some of the national shows, that if Justin Fields and Trey Lance, I say the same thing, it seems the same thing has happened in San Francisco with Trey Lance, that these two guys are really off to really good starts at their respective camps, and do you feel like that? You guys have been at the practices. How do you feel like he's been doing?
I don't know if lighting up is the phrase I would use. Like today, his shovel pass got intercepted by Roquan Smith.
That was BS, though. Roquan knew that play was coming.
Followed his keys. I know Matt Nagy uses it a lot. But you know what? Other inside linebackers are going to know what's coming, too. No?
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I mean,
we saw Justin Fields get intercepted by, let me get his name right. Austin Calitro. Did I say that right?
Austin Calitro, I think.
Was
that in the one-on-ones, though?
No, it was not.
Okay.
It was
I
a
think
team
that was
drill.
yeah. I mean, I think Justin Fields has been really good. But, like, I haven't, and maybe this is a testament to Andy Dalton, but, like, I haven't had a day where I've gone out there and left and been like, they got to put Fields in week one. Right? Like, there's never been a day where I've thought that. And again, I think that's a testament to Andy Dalton. Like, he's looked fine. He's looked solid. He's impressed me. I think I'll say this. Has Andy Dalton the best Bears quarterback we've seen in Bears training camp since Jay? Veteran. I'll say veteran quarterback.
Yes.
So we don't have to get into the Fields comparison. Because I think Mitch actually looked pretty good in 2017 when he was a rookie. He looked a lot better than Glennon when we were out in Bourbonnais.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to use the term light it up, remember that game against the Broncos? Mitch actually did light it up in that game. Yeah, I didn't bring this up to like make it controversial. To me, both of these guys have done what you wanted them to do, or really what you would expect to happen. I mean, Andy Dalton has been good. A good version of Andy Dalton, I'd say. Like the plan is working. Let's just put it that way. Andy Dalton is holding on to his starting spot. He looks like the more polished veteran quarterback that he is. And Justin Fields, every single practice, has a couple throws. Like, Johns, you and I were joking about it today. It looked like he's throwing a Nerf ball.
Yes.
And there's a difference. This is an observation we had that we should bring up because it's just unfortunately going to always happen. We're going to compare things to Mitch. But Mitch, on all of his deep balls, even some of his intermediate passes, whether practices or games, there was a slight wobble on it. You always saw it. There was just a slight wobble on the back end of his throws. And Justin, it just looks different. The ball just zips. And we see that every single practice. And then we also see interceptions or him taking a sack or, not having his eyes in the right place. Like that's the rookie stuff that you also expect to happen. So I don't think if it's getting portrayed nationally, maybe I'm wrong about this, that he's having like this perfect, amazing training camp. I don't think that that's accurate. I think he's having a good rookie training camp.
The best way to put it is like exactly what you're saying. He leaves you with a couple throws where the talent is undeniable. Whether it's the sidearm throw against the starting defense, a sidearm throw in a goal line situation, a live team drill to JP Holtz for a touchdown. It's that touchdown he threw, God, it had to be like 50 yards, over 40 for sure today in 7-on-7s, where that ball flew out of his hand, and it's the arc, the accuracy, right on the money for a touchdown. The fans went wild. Like every day he leaves you with a couple of those throws where the talent is just there. You can't deny it. It's that obvious, and it's that special. That's special in my opinion. Now, I feel like we've reached a point in covering this team. We've seen Cutler. We've seen McCown. We've seen Trubisky come in. We've seen Glennon. We've had all sorts of different guys. The arm talent of Justin Fields, guys, it just looks different. It really does. Like, Cutler had that fastball. You know what? Justin Fields has that fastball too. But he could change clubs a bit differently.
He has the touch.
Oh, he has the touch. And his ability to put passes. Yes, he's had a couple mistakes. Yes, he's been confused on a few things, but that's to be expected for a young guy. But his ability to put the ball consistently in areas for only his guy to get it. That's different than Cutler. That's definitely different than Trubisky. It's the talent, again, elite every day. The talent is there. Like you see it on one or two throws, the special qualities. So yes, he's not having a great camp, but you leave camp with those memories.
And, like every day, Johns, you and I write, we go through Fields' best throws. We do that for a reason because they're really good, and we all know like what he means to his franchise and what obviously people want to know about are his plays. But what else do we also do after every camp? We write about Andy Dalton's throws. It's
he had
really
a beauty to Darnell Mooney today. Absolute dime.
It's amazing. Again, it's hard to compare, but this to the Glennon Trubisky era, to the Foles Trubisky summer. I mean, guys, last summer we came home from some of those training camps. Wow. Again, these guys have a little leg up, OTAs and minicamp, but it's completely different. But I think this is what the coaching staff wanted. Both guys are playing well, and Andy Dalton's doing more than enough to solidify that he should be the week one starter, and Fields is doing plenty to show you guys made the right pick. It's early. I do want to see like what happens as we start seeing some of those team drills and pads where they have to go on a drive. Like I think that's where maybe there could be that day. We haven't seen it yet where Fields leads 2 touchdown drives and Dalton struggles, or even vice versa. Like, what is that going to happen? Because we've gotten this question a lot, guys, and I'm not sure where you're at on it. And this is something probably worth asking Nagy about again. I think he's been asked is Fields going to get the first team reps just to see whether it's in a preseason game or in practice? Trey Lance is going to start getting some. Kyle Shanahan said today, he claims it's not a quarterback competition, but I feel like once you do that, like you're opening the door. And I don't know if the Bears, they're so committed to this process. Like, I don't think they're ready to open that door, but like, there's just got to be this curiosity.
I think the only thing that would change that, sorry, Johns, is if Fields really were to outperform Dalton in the preseason games, in the actual games. And I would expect Fields to get more reps than Dalton, at least in the first preseason game. And then maybe that would be the type of thing that opens up the door. But, he's already getting a lot of reps. I mean, we made this observation last week. I feel like the Bears are giving the twos more reps than the twos usually get, in large part because they know Justin Fields needs the rep, and that can be possible even with Andy Dalton as the clear starter.
The difference between their success, I think this has to be noted. The difference to me is who they're playing with sometimes, though, right? Like, Andy Dalton's moving the ball, throwing to Darnell Mooney, Allen Robinson, and Cole Kmet. Jimmy Graham too. Justin Fields is doing it with a bunch of guys who may not be on the team by the end of August. And I get that he's playing against guys that may not be on the team at the end of August, but I feel like that's noteworthy sometimes, and it needs to be mentioned. Because Cole Kmet seems open every single play.
Would we, think about it. If, random backup was, Chase Daniel, for example, was the number 2 quarterback right now, would we be writing about a Rodney Adams or a Chris Lacey or even a Jesse James? And Justin Fields, now granted, we're watching these plays a lot more closely than we would with your typical backup who's not Justin Fields. But I think Justin Fields is doing what you expect great quarterbacks to do, is he's helping these guys make big plays. And he's, we're noticing them because, he's helping put the ball in the right spot.
Yeah, I think the headline here is that the Bears are in a better spot quarterback wise going in, and especially because worst comes to absolute worst, you still have Nick Foles at the 3 spot.
See, that's how you know that Hoge is not a headline writer, because you're not getting many clicks with that headline, my friend.
What was the one we came up with today in the stands? When Arlington Hambright got moved to left tackle.
Bears moved
to Arlington.
Bears moved to Arlington.
Now that's a headline.
I think that was Jeff Dickerson.
Yes.
Yeah. JD would come up with
If you want clicks, there you go.
There you go. All right, let's pick some players that have impressed us besides the quarterbacks. So some guys that have stood out. I will start with a starter. I think Darnell Mooney looks great. I think Darnell Mooney looks like he has, at minimum, what he did as a rookie, and is building on that, which is a very, very good sign because he has the talent to become I don't know that he can ever become a true number 1, but he can sure as hell be a very good fringe 1-2 type wide receiver that is very productive in this offense. And I think that that's a very positive development. And the reason why I'm putting some stock into what I'm seeing is because how many wide receivers have we seen over the years where you're just like something's missing there, or like all those training camps where Kevin White, even when he was healthy, was just like, I don't know. He doesn't ever look open. He doesn't look crisp in his routes. Darnell Mooney to me is open. He's making plays every single day, whether it's with Dalton or with Fields, because I think he has gotten some reps with Fields. A lot of times it's Dalton, obviously. There was one example today. So that's the first one I wanted to start with.
What's the separation? I think it was Jalen Johnson who mentioned it today, just going up against him, Marquise Goodwin, the speed factor. It's real. It's the cushion. It's how you play these guys. Your technique has to be a bit different because of how fast they are. Like we saw that ball come out of Dalton's hand today, and again, a perfectly thrown ball by him, but the speed of Darnell Mooney to get there, make the catch, partially contested at the end too, is something. It's a threat, and you like seeing your guys make that next step, especially in their second season, because sophomore slumps are real sometimes.
I can tell you I'm not surprised. It's George McCaskey's favorite player. Had high expectations for him.
Yeah. Anthony Miller, not his favorite player.
No, but I'm with you, Hoge. I think Mooney's been outstanding so far. And we came in, he was one of those guys, right? That second year jump, gets a full OTAs and minicamp after not getting anything last year, and he's doing exactly what you kind of hoped and kind of expected he would do. It's been impressive.
One starter.
Jahns, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. One starter, maybe it's just fresh in my mind, but Roquan Smith is having an outstanding training camp.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Like just an outstanding offseason program, OTAs, to now just doing everything right. He's noticeable. He's everywhere on the field. Seeing his pass rush drills, one-on-one against David Montgomery, like everything he's doing, he's winning. Very impressive. Of course, you have to mention the Justin Fields shovel pass interception again, but then he had a tackle for loss in the next, 2 plays later? The guy's all over the field. He's got the green dot on his helmet. He's having an outstanding training camp for the Bears.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, look, they go live, first time live tackling, and the guy's just blowing up plays. So that was real football at the line of scrimmage, at the goal line, and he looked outstanding. So he's really, really looked good.
Got a big payday coming potentially at some point. So
probably should take care of that. Kevin, what about for you?
I'll go off the board here. Ladarius Mack. The other Mac.
Don't care.
How dare you disrespect Ladarius
You're
Mack?
not being real.
No, I've written down 53 in my little notebook, like multiple times. I think the guys looked good, fighting for that number 5 outside linebacker spot.
Alec Ogletree had 3 interceptions today.
Hoge wanted 2 standouts. Maybe he's my second. I think Ladarius Mack's had a good training camp.
You led with Ladarius Mack?
I didn't know there was an order we were supposed to go in. Maybe the next one's a starter.
He went starter, I went starter, you went Ladarius Mack, which is fine. Khalil Mack's brother, but...
Do you guys not think Ladarius Mack's had a good camp?
I guess I'm not making note of him as much as you are playing against.
All right, we'll pay attention to 53. I think 53 look pretty good.
I have not written 53 down once. I'm going to just go ahead and say that.
But you're too busy watching special teams.
I know. Where he's probably shining in special teams, too.
So maybe you're missing something. Ladarius Mack. Guy go off the show for a couple months, and this is the respect I get when I come back. Trying to give Ladarius Mack some love.
You got a different one for us?
Cole Kmet was my other one.
Okay. All right.
You want me to talk about Cole Kmet for a minute?
Yes, talk about Cole Kmet, the second-round draft pick from a year ago, who should be a huge part of the offense this year.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Stop sucking up to Khalil and give us a real name.
I know, Cole Kmet was my other one. You guys both went starter, so I wanted to kind of mix it up, and I was going to go Cole Kmet on the turn.
Anyways, all right, by the way, we will have a bonus episode for all of you where it'll just be Kevin giving you his top practice squad candidates for the 2021 season.
Sam Kamara, guy out of Stony Brook, thought had a really good practice at Soldier Field this week. Outside linebacker.
Oh, jeez. Adam, your next guy.
Jesus. All right. I was going to say Alec Ogletree is one of them, but it's been a couple days. Alec Ogletree's had 2 really good practices. It's also been 2 days. So I'll give you a different guy who I think is in a huge position to have a big opportunity right now and be a key player for the Bears. Kindle Vildor. So, Johns, you kept talking about it on all those podcasts that I missed, Kevin missed. You saw it in OTA's mini camp when we were out. You kept mentioning his name. And while I have not written down 53 a lot in my notebook, I have written down 22. And we've seen some good battles between Darnell Mooney and Jalen Johnson. I feel like we've also seen some good battles between Kindle Vildor and Marquise Goodwin. By the way, I put Goodwin also in the category of having a pretty good camp. Seems like he's around and making plays and getting separation with his speed. Vildor today had a really nice pass breakup where he basically played through the receiver. He was in coverage against Goodwin. Goodwin looked like he was open, looked like he was going to make the catch. It definitely wasn't a drop. It was a clean PBU, and it was a really nice play by Kindle Vildor, who right now with Desmond Trufant out, what do you have, a groin? Yeah. Another soft tissue thing.
Hamstring.
Another soft tissue thing with Desmond Trufant, though, which is kind of the hesitation you have there. I just think that's a really good sign.
Duke Shelley was my second guy, and I made more note of him today. A couple good pass breakups, including one against Allen Robinson in the slot. He's being tested there. They're throwing all sorts of different things at him because Allen Robinson, especially with Anthony Miller no longer here, is playing more inside. Different challenges for him. I just don't I feel like he's won that competition right now. I don't see anybody really pushing him. Maybe they get creative with some of their sub packages with some of these safeties that they like, but even those guys are having their struggles. Like DeAndre Houston-Carson had a good practice a couple days ago. Today, not so good.
Can I just interrupt real quick? Because I just realizing this as we're talking about this. The names so far that we've mentioned, Darnell Mooney, Roquan Smith, skipping Ladarius Mack. Who did you say instead, Kevin? You said Cole Kmet. Then I said Kindle Vildor. Then you said Duke Shelley. These are all draft picks from the last 2 years. And Roquan would be 3 years ago. This would be 4. But these are all draft picks. These are all guys that Ryan Pace brought in. So that's how it's supposed to work, right? You're supposed to, and a lot of these guys, we're talking about late round guys. Mooney, Shelley was 6th round. Vildor was 6th round.
5th round.
Vildor was 5th round.
Yeah, those 3.
Okay. They like the 5th round.
Yeah.
The point being, a lot of these guys, they're all draft picks. A lot of them are late round picks. Now, I want to see how they actually perform if these guys are all going to be real starters in the regular season. But it's at least a good sign.
Well, speaking of those 3 5th-round picks, you had maybe a good couple pass rushes in the one-on-one drills. Travis Gibson, the other 5th round, the first 5th rounder of those 3. What was it? Gibson, Vildor, then Mooney, or was Vildor the last one? I forget. But Gibson was definitely the first one.
I think yeah. Oh, you're right. They were all the 5th round picks from last year.
Yeah, the 3 guys in the 5th round.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bears got a 5th round back next year for Anthony Miller.
It's the money round, baby.
There you go.
Bilal Nichols, who's actually another outstanding camp. Sorry, Kev,
really,
who's your second? Oh, he already gave. Never mind. Does he get a third guy? No.
Not after mentioning Ladarius Mack. Now I just feel like I'm hating on Ladarius. Look, I want to make it very clear. I'm not hating on Ladarius Mack. I'm hating on Kevin Fishbain bringing Ladarius Mack into.
It's training camp. This is the time that you kind of keep an eye on some of the practice squad, type guys that might have a shot at spot 52 or 53.
And then what? Do you keep watching that guy in week 1?
Well,
or are you watching the quarterbacks and the wide receivers and who's getting beat in coverage?
David Montgomery would have been my 3rd.
Okay. He had a nice run today.
I think just there have been 2 or 3 times that he's kind of broken one, whether it's a catch or a run, and it's kind of been like, okay, he found another gear. Like I think you can see it. So yeah, I think he's at a pretty good camp.
All right. Well, I feel like we got enough practices in to bring this conversation up, so it's good to hear all that. Who's performing well, and there are a lot of draft picks, so we'll see if that continues, and we'll see if they can stay healthy. All right. Interesting moment in camp today where a nice fan, one of our listeners, by the way, I was sitting more like over like the 50-yard line in those bleachers, and was talking to one of our listeners, very nice guy, and he all of a sudden he goes, "Is that Doug Peterson down there?" And I had to look, and I was like, "I think it is. Sure looks like him with the visor and the gray hair, but he's decked out in Bears gear," and that kind of confused me because it's relatively common to see coaches, that might be taking a year off, visit other camps to pick up ideas, especially open practices that are open anyway, and to the public, and be able to be on the sideline. Like a couple years ago, I remember we saw Joe Philbin at a practice right after. That was the year actually the Bears had beaten the Packers to win the division, and Joe Philbin was the coach that day because Mike McCarthy had been fired. So the following camp, he was there. But I don't remember a guy being decked out in Bears gear. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it was like you had to do a double take. Like, what's going on here?
He had a play sheet or something, too, like notes.
Yeah.
Like, I saw one picture of him actually pointing at things, so he seems to be a little more involved than your...
a little bit more than a visitor.
Yes. Now, Kevin, didn't you point out that he seems to be making a tour of... visiting friends across the league or something like that?
Yeah, I saw a tweet from one of the Eagles reporters that said that his understanding was Doug Peterson was going to kind of do a summer camp tour, and we see that a lot from coaches who recently been let go, that they because hop around, stay fresh, and then at the 2022 Doug Peterson intro press conference to his head coaching job, he's going to talk about. He goes, "Well, guys, I went to a bunch of training camps last year, and I learned a lot from being able to take a step back and see what other coaches are doing, and come here fresh ready to go with a brand new playbook and coach speak."
And I'd like to introduce our new starting quarterback, Nick Foles.
Slice and dice.
I gotta say that, and by the way, I was told that he was just visiting, so it did look like he was doing more than a visitor normally does.
Yes,
but
yeah,
he was just visiting. So, hey,
well, the Bears gear throws you off a bit.
It threw me off, but also look, he and Nagy have a really good relationship, obviously, and are close. So Nagy's probably going to let the guy do a little bit more and beat around a little bit more than maybe some of the other coaches or other camps he might go visit where he doesn't necessarily have the same trust. that Nagy's probably giving him. So maybe that's all it was. But I have to say, it was bizarre to me, just very odd to see. There was a moment late in practice where Nick Foles and Doug Peterson are standing there next to each other, and I'm just thinking about this. Here's a duo that won a Super Bowl together just 4 seasons ago, like not that long ago, in Philadelphia. Like they should be gods there forever. And even the following year, they come to Soldier Field, beat this Bears team, Matt Nagy, at Soldier Field in a playoff game. Again, Nick Foles as the quarterback, Doug Peterson as the coach. And just a short time later, unemployed coach, third-string quarterback, standing there on the middle of practice field at Hallis Hall, just sort of like off to the side because they're not really. I mean, Nick Foles is on the team, but he's the third-string quarterback. It's just the NFL can humble you so quickly.
Third-string quarterback of a franchise still searching for that franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
Right. Super Bowl winner.
Just to point out that I believe there are still statues up of both of them outside Lincoln Financial Field. So they might not be gods in Philadelphia still, but they're statues. So they're there forever.
And that's a whole nother, like maybe we go a little too crazy with the statue thing.
I wanted the White Sox to build one for Brian Goodwin the other day.
If they could build a statue where somehow the bat stayed 20 feet in the air,
yeah,
that would actually be pretty sweet. I'd go see that one. So,
how's everyone doing? This is Nick Foles. Just entered the meeting.
So there's a lot of talk with Nick Foles potentially being traded. It makes sense. I mean, he's got to be at the top of the list of veterans if there's a team that needs a quarterback. You got this third-string guy who's proven, and by all accounts, a great teammate. Now, the Colts thing is interesting. The Colts make a sense for a lot of reasons. But I think there's one reason that he doesn't make a lot of sense, and that is the Colts just invested heavily in Carson Wentz. And as Nick said to us the other day when we talked to him about this stuff, and he was very candid, more candid than I thought he would be, he did mention how he and Carson have a history. And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but a lot of people out there seem to think like it's only a matter of when the Colts trade for Nick Foles. I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
I think that history is too. You're endangering. You're putting too much danger in damaging Carson Wentz more by bringing in Nick Foles. That I don't know that the Colts are that interested.
Let me just ask you: do you use "we have a history together"? That phrase, "we have a history together," to describe a positive working relationship where you get along with a guy?
I mean, when people ask me about this podcast, that's usually what I say about John.
No, but that's fair. But seriously,
I don't know. Every time I ask Johns about Pat Finley, that's what he says.
Exactly.
Wow.
Pat and I have a history together.
Yeah.
But seriously, do you use that phrase, that cliche, to describe something that was positive?
No, I think that's a fair point.
Where's our friend Patrick Finley?
And we've also heard whispers behind the scenes for a while now that, like, Wentz is, fair or not, they say he's fragile, right? So I don't think reliving the whole Nick Foles era is a good idea there in Indy, and that's why I just don't think it's going to happen. And then you hear Foles talk. Now, Foles, to me, certainly sounded like a guy who's open to a trade if it's to the right place. So what other places would it really be somewhere where he's comfortable?
And how many of those right places actually exist? With all due respect to Nick Foles,
sure.
Everybody saw what you did last year on the field.
Oh, wait a second. That was not his fault, according to Nick Foles.
I mean, he didn't say it that blatantly, but he kind of did.
He's not allowed to talk about it, but there's some stuff there. Not his fault, guys.
If it wasn't his fault, he wouldn't be the third string quarterback.
I actually, to defend him a little bit, a lot of it was not his fault. Some of the offensive line play in front of him was terrible, and he can't move that well, so it was a bad fit. But he also did not play well. And that needs to be pointed out as well. Interesting reaction to that press conference the other day. Like, some people were really offended by it.
I think, from a journalist standpoint, it was entertaining.
I loved it. I'm not going to lie.
I'm good for entertainment. I'm good for guys, acting like that. And he's a very sincere person. Like, that wasn't, he wasn't doing that to put on a show. That's just kind of who the guy is. I do think, going back to the Colts part, like, if the Colts wanted him, this would have been done 5 days ago. Like, they don't have time.
Yeah, you got to get the quarterback in there.
Yeah, so I think that I think the hay is in the barn, probably with that, unless push really comes to shove there. But yeah, look, the Bears have the best third string quarterback in football, and I think that they enter the season when he's still on the roster, like, all right, we got the best third string quarterback in football. Yeah. He's going to help. He's going to help Justin Fields. He's going to help Andy Dalton. And for the worst crazy, Tyler Bray came in for 4 snaps last year. So that they got Nick Foles. If they get his, they don't have to pay him game checks this year, and he's playing for somebody else, and they get another roster spot, I think they'd probably be perfectly fine with that too.
Nick Foles made it pretty clear too that there were some conversations. I think we know the Eagles are one of them about possible trade destinations, and he said no. Now, should the Bears listen to him? I don't know. They like the guy. Matt Nagy loves the guy, so it sounds like they're doing him right, but I just don't see there's no ideal situation out there for him right now. There just isn't. You want the right coaches, you want people who you're comfortable with, and the right offense. Like, what is it? I don't think it exists for him out there right now. It may never exist again.
All right. Can I blow your mind with an idea? What if Chris Ballard calls and says, hey, Ryan Pace. First of all, what's it like up there in Lake Forest? It's been a while. Then he says, is Andy Dalton available? What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, for a first-round pick.
I don't think you're going to get a first-round pick for a guy who costs $10 million this year, but they do have the cap space. They may be desperate enough for a quarterback. And I'm actually somewhat being serious about this because I think Andy Dalton gets you more than Nick Foles gets you. And if you...
yeah.
We know everything the Bears are saying about their plan. And I believe the plan. I'm not debunking the plan. But what if Justin Fields really is behind the scenes blowing them away with some of the stuff he's learning? And you can get more from Andy Dalton. Because it seems ridiculous right now to have Dalton, Fields, and Foles at the same time. I mean, you would still have a situation where, you do this under the scenario where you just decide you're ready to play Fields. But even if it's like, yeah, we think, you know what, Fields is, I really feel like Fields is going to be ready by week 4. And you got a team offering you like even a second-round pick. And I don't know what Andy Dalton would bring you. It's just a hypothetical conversation right now. But it's based out of the situation that exists right now in Indianapolis where I think they need a quarterback. I think Dallas might need a quarterback.
He was just there, though.
To back up Dak. Right, I don't know
not
Andy. Well, I don't. But maybe what if Dallas might be interested in Foles? Maybe.
Yeah.
But if the Colts aren't interested in Foles because of the history with Wentz, now you could also make the argument that anybody coming in, even if it's not Nick Foles, messes with the psyche of Carson Wentz.
But here's the thing. Okay, the only reason the Colts will go down that road is if Carson Wentz is now out for the year.
Well, they said 5 to 12 weeks.
Which is a huge time range. That's a 7-week difference.
It shows you there's some uncertainty.
Extreme uncertainty. So if it ever reaches that point, and it might just because the 5-week window hits before the season starts, you have to use their desperation against them. Now, again, like Kevin said, you would want to figure out your quarterback situation before that. That's why Nick Foles still hasn't been traded and whatnot, but I enjoy your Hogatheticals.
Didn't what's Sam Bradford got like a first and a fourth?
Yes. And that was right before the season started. Now, in hindsight, that was crazy. But you had a team that was desperate enough for a quarterback.
And you got to use that desperation against them. If they call looking for Andy Dalton, be like, we're starting talking about a first-round pick.
And by the way, do you know why the Eagles were willing to trade Sam Bradford? Because Carson Wentz was there to play. Right? So it all comes back full circle somehow to Carson Wentz. Kevin's mind is either racing or he's scrambling to look something up on his computer right now to debunk this trade idea.
No, I'm all in on this idea. I think I like it. It's fun.
Okay.
And the Colts would have a first-round pick, too, because the conditional pick, wasn't there trade with the Eagles a conditional?
Well, it becomes a first round.
I can't remember. Yeah.
It's a second-round pick that becomes a first if Wentz plays like 70% of the snaps, 75% of the snaps.
So in your Hogathetical, he wouldn't reach that.
Right. Which is, I mean, but that's a problem regardless. If he's not going to get to that number, they're going to be stuck with a second-round pick.
Are the Colts really like a Super Bowl contender?
Not if they don't have a good quarterback. And that was...
Well, that's true for any team, but like, are they... I feel like a lot of people are overly high on them. I don't know.
I think you just don't like JJ Stankovitz or something. I don't know. There's like some... Our friend JJ is now with the Colts. And you should be following him on Twitter, by the way. And he's our Colts guy now. At some point, maybe we just need to check in with JJ. He's got the inside, right? He's the inside guy there. I'm sure they'll let him say everything.
Yeah. We could get it out of him.
Yeah.
Maybe get him in trouble.
All right, well, that's my hot take for the day. You trade Dalton, not Foles. Give us Justin Fields in week 1 to cover in L.A., right? Now, that would be a story. A little far-fetched, but I don't know. You telling me if they're really calling about Nick Foles that Andy Dalton's name doesn't at least come up just to check? I find that hard to believe. They're doing their jobs correctly. All right, finally, last thing we need to address.
Hello, everyone. This is Al Rivron.
I've been waiting for you to get to this since like the podcast started.
You thought I was going to lead with it?
Actually, how many podcasts have we actually opened with a rant from Adam Hoge complaining about some random call in the first quarter that he didn't seem to like that was non-consequential in the game?
Yeah, I mean, this year it'll involve some special teams play involving Ladarius Mack. And I'll be upset about it. Some obscure rule that they just put in. You can't block a certain way on kick coverage. And I'm going to be angry. But I can't take it out on this guy anymore.
Hello, everyone. This is Al Rivron.
Yeah, Robot Al is gone.
Look, we gotta pay full tribute to Al. He spells his name A-L, all capital letters on Twitter. Every one of his tweets. I don't know why. He still thinks that Zach Miller did not catch that ball in New Orleans, even though literally every other human on the earth thinks he caught the ball.
Still one of the worst calls I've ever seen.
It's
even
horrible.
the explanation made it worse.
And it's under the worst circumstances because Zach Miller never played it down after that.
Yes.
It just horrible. So that's what I'll always remember Al for. His and all of his weekly videos where he tried to explain his bad calls. It was this guy.
Hello, everyone. This is Al Rivron.
I don't know who we're gonna blame now. There was some officiating stuff I need to catch up on because I think they're introducing Hawkeye into replay, and it's going to be streamlined, and there's going to be better communication. At least that's the word. I don't know why it took this long for the National Football League of all leagues, who it seems like have all the resources to run replay better than anybody does it, but somehow tennis and soccer with their VAR gets it better. I don't know. But maybe the NFL is actually making strides here.
I want Hoge to be the director of officiating.
I would do it.
He's got to work on his special teams first, Kevin.
It's true. You gotta learn those special teams rules.
Yes.
I know.
Then he can become the czar of officiating that he still wants to be. Let's see how your special teams performs this year.
What kind of requirement do you need to officiate to be a special teams coordinator? How does that connect?
You gotta know which guys are eligible for the field goal.
Well, I know that the ends and the wings. Trust me, I got that one in there. What happens when the snap breaks down? You better have that in there at the high school level.
Fire!
All right. Good stuff today. After a few days of not having a podcast, I know you guys were itching for it, so we're here, and hopefully you got a lot out of it. Any final thoughts, boys?
No, it was good to see live contact. 2 more days. Another podcast about it next Tuesday, I believe.
Yeah.
And then we'll break down what we saw against the Dolphins.
Yeah. Then we got Dolphins in town.
I believe my Northwestern Minute will return probably in a couple weeks.
Do you have any thoughts on the opening practice yesterday?
No.
Okay. Then you have forfeited your 15 seconds. Follow us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Jahns, at K Fishbain. You can read me at NBCSportsChicago.com. Those guys on The Athletic. TheAthletic.com/Hoge Jahns is where you go to subscribe. You should be subscribed. If for some reason you are not, do it now before the season starts and get all of that great content that you should be getting. And let's see. We got new shirts up at obviousshirts.com. The bear logo shirt is up there. The walking bear, as they call it. It's a good shirt. Check it out, obviousshirts.com. Got more coming up, too, as the season gets closer and closer. And check out our YouTube, youtube.com. You've heard of it. Just find the Hoge Jahns. So hit subscribe. Hit the notifications. You'll find out when we go live, because we will do some live shows. And, yeah, people are loving the YouTube. So get on there. And if you missed it, even if you just heard the podcast of our Ryan Pace interview, I encourage you to check out the video. So it's on there as well on YouTube. All right, we're out of here. We'll talk to you probably Tuesday. And 2 more podcasts coming your way as training camp rolls on. See ya.
Hello, everyone. This is Al Rivron.
Sign up today with BetMGM, the exclusive betting partner of The Athletic, and get a $1,000 risk-free first bet, plus get a free 3-month subscription to The Athletic. Just sign up at BetMGM.com/Adam to take advantage of the special offer from the King of Sports Books. It's BetMGM.com/Adam. New customer offer, paid in bonus dollars. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions.
Must be 21 years of age or older to wager. Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, or West Virginia only. Excludes Michigan disassociated persons. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, Nevada, and Virginia. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help in Michigan. 1-800-GAMBLER in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. And 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. In Tennessee, call or text the Red Line at 800-889-9789. Or if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. Promotional offer not available in Nevada.